I've been in the drone industry since about 2012, 2013. This really wasn't an industry. When I was doing my research, doing my due diligence on what I was going to do next, there was this little company called DJI, and that was about it.
Yeah.
There were no companies.
Yeah.
There was no education. It was a greenfield.
Yeah.
The minute someone calls 911, that comes into the computer-aided dispatch system at the police department. A drone pilot can send that directly to that call for service and potentially get there before patrol gets there, so that patrol can watch that video stream on their MDT or on mobile so that they know what's basically happening. When we start talking to a police department and a chief of police, first of all, in order for our contract to go through, the city council has to approve it, because the community has to understand and be okay with, doing something like this.
This is Dan Magy, CEO of Firestorm, and this week on the Drone Wars podcast, we have Brett Kanda from Flock Safety. Brett Kanda. What's up, dude?
How are you, my man?
How are you doing? Thanks for joining us in California.
I'm excited to be here.
I know. It's a beautiful sunny day in San Diego today, and we're stuck inside a shipping container talking about drones.
Wouldn't want to be anywhere else, Dan.
That is not true. You probably want to be on Torrey, right?
Oh, that's fair.
South Course. All right, Brett, tell everybody a little bit about yourself.
Well, we got to start with how long you and I have known each other.
Okay, that works too.
Right?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm pretty sure I was in diapers.
I think I was just out of diapers.
Exactly. So my aunt and uncle, neighbors with the Magys.
Yep.
Forever. And when I would go down there, there'd be this, punk kid next door that wanted to beat me up and play sports.
Yep.
And
you probably talked a lot.
Probably. So that's how long Dan and I have known each other.
I know.
And I'll tell you, I'll never forget when you called me and you're like, hey, I got this idea. What if I could bring rogue drones out of the sky, like around sporting events, stadiums?
Yeah.
And I was working for the FAA at the time, right? Working on unmanned traffic management. I was like, well, it's probably $1 billion idea.
Yeah.
Probably a really good idea.
We didn't quite get to $1 billion, but
we got close.
We got good.
You got close.
Yeah.
So, background. I mean, I've been in the drone industry since about 2012, 2013.
One of the OGs.
Yeah, it's been a while. I got the scar tissue to prove it. This really wasn't an industry. When I was doing my research, doing my due diligence on what I was going to do next, there was this little company called DJI. And that was about it.
Yeah.
There were no companies.
Yeah.
There was no education. It was a greenfield.
Yeah.
Right. And I was like, all right, well, we're all kind of starting from the same place here. And DJI had just released the Phantom 1.
You had to bring your own camera for that one.
You had to strap a GoPro. you had to rely on the Bluetooth connection about 25 feet away and then fly blind from there with the GoPro on a Phantom. But the original thesis on this was my past life as a golfer.
Yep.
I had a good friend of mine that played on the college team with me come to me with this drone. He's like, hey, why don't we go film golf courses for the tour instead of them using helicopters?
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild because fast forward to today, the business model is literally augmenting helicopters for law enforcement.
For sure.
Nonetheless, but back in the day, the thesis kind of stuck.
Yep.
And so there were no companies, there was no opportunities. So naturally, what do? You start a company.
You're literally the only person I know who is doing drones at this time.
I didn't know any.
Yeah.
I didn't know any.
That's why you're the first person I called when we were thinking about
and there were no regulations.
Yeah.
So started a drone service provider. And at the time, it was more for cinematography and filming.
Yep.
And so we called production houses, called commercial real estate companies, called you name it. Anybody that would need some pictures or video from the sky, we would call them and see if we could fly drones for them. But I didn't know anything about cameras. I didn't really know much of anything about anything. Mm-hmm. So at night I was going to film school because I wanted to learn how, high-end cameras worked. So during the day, trying to build the company, at night going to film school, learning the technical side of it, stuff like this.
Yep.
And that was about a 4-year period back before Part 107 was a thing. It was Section 333 days. I think my company was like the 30th company or something like that to get a Section 333 exemption. We would go out, back when you can make some money being a drone service provider.
Yeah.
Those days are gone. That doesn't exist anymore. But what kept happening is, we would get into the C-suite of these pretty big organizations, and that's when the legal team would come and get involved. And they would basically say, hey, there's not really any regulations around this, guys. Like, I'm sure we're willing to be the first to go. And that kept happening and happening and happening. And ironically, the state of Nevada, I live in Vegas, became an FAA test site for drones at about the same time this was happening. And so I was like, it's probably not a bad idea to learn, from inside the beast of the FAA.
Yep. And
so I worked for the FAA for about 2.5 years. Basically running the state of Nevada as a test site. We were focused on unmanned traffic management, hence the counter UAS element, testing big systems. So, flying taxis, essentially. We had waivers to be able to do that type of testing. So EHang and, a lot of these companies now don't exist. But at the time, we could go out to the middle of Nevada, unrestricted airspace, and put them up and fly.
Yeah.
Right. So, yeah, that was, about 2.5 years working with the FAA. Understanding regulation and policy and getting 107 out the door as well. And then I went to FLIR. And FLIR is kind of one of the preeminent, imaging companies, drone companies, one of the very few that has a very successful defense business and a very successful commercial business. So the drone industry or drone business inside of the company was a little bit of both, right? And so I was focused on the commercial side of the house, but at the same time, a lot of exposure to, which is still potentially my favorite drone in the world, is the Black Hornet, which I'm sure you're familiar with.
So cool.
It's the coolest drone I could think of. So got a massive amount of exposure to the global drone industry at FLIR, right? And it was a great company, great business. But then that is kind of where I realized where I like startups and the chaos of startups. So when I was working for the FAA, I met Blake Resnick back in about 2017, and he was 17 years old at the time. And kind of end of 2020, as we were mid pandemic, he gave me a call and said, "Hey, I raised a couple $1 million. Do you want to come run go to market for me?" So took the leap with Blake, and we kind of really got spun up end of 2020, and we were focused on basically building indoor tactical drones for law enforcement, right? So being able to before the SWAT team enters a building, send in the drone, clear the structure. They know what's happening on the inside before they have to peek around a door. And so was there for about 3 years. And, when I left, there were over 100 employees, and we had raised about $86 million, and we were in about 400 police departments around the country. And it was a lot of fun. Learned a lot going from 0 to 1.
Yeah. You guys, was it just you two?
No. So when we started out, it was just him and I. But then we had about 5 contractors from Vegas Metro.
Yep.
Because the inspiration for the company and the reason that we started it was the Route 91 Harvest Festival shooting. Blake, we both lived in Vegas. He thought to himself, why would officers and SWAT team members be clearing every single floor
while the
of
guy's
the Mandalay
still
Bay?
Yeah. And
it turns out that the gunman had assault rifles pointed down the hallway for when law enforcement came, right? And not only that, what about a drone that could have flown up and scaled the front of the Mandalay, flown in the glass, and stopped the guy?
Yep.
And that was the inspiration behind it. Vegas Metro was our first customer. And about 5 SWAT team members from Vegas Metro were contractors for the company, and they would give us product feedback, and they'd go out and meet with SWAT teams around the country. And then the company, kind of developed from there.
Yeah.
So, and then I guess from there went to Aerodome.
Yeah. I remember when you and Blake showed up at my house when it was like just an idea. I think you guys drove out from Vegas.
It might have been like in the first 2 weeks.
100%. And we went and talked to Naval Special Warfare, and they're like, I don't know.
That's right.
Yeah.
We did. We did. We talked to Naval Special Warfare, got some advice from you, and, went at it.
And then you went and raised a lot of money.
Too much.
A little too much.
We raised a little too much. But then in March of 23, I met Rahul Sidhu, who is the co-founder and CEO of Aerodome, and him and I clicked immediately. And the way that he viewed drone as a first responder was exactly how I viewed it as well. And we spun up the company in March of 23 and were acquired by Flock Safety back in October. So from, incorporation to acquisition was about an 18-month period. And we've been told that it was the fastest and largest acquisition in GovTech history. So now we're part of Flock Safety. We're the aviation division inside of Flock.
Drone Wars is recorded from Firestorm's global headquarters in San Diego, California. Each episode is filmed inside our X-Cell, a modular industrial-grade manufacturing facility designed to be deployed anywhere in the world within 24 hours for on-demand drone production. Each week on the podcast, we bring you cutting-edge insights from unmanned industry leaders. Listen as they share the breakthroughs and technologies they're working on, the hard lessons they've learned, and the bold predictions about what the next 5 to 10 years in unmanned systems and advanced manufacturing have in store for us. Enjoying the show so far? Then be sure to like and subscribe so you never miss an episode. Now back to the show. So talk to us about, first off, glad you got that win, man.
Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice getting paid. What is drone first responder? What's DFR?
Yeah, great question. So drone as a first responder was invented by Chula Vista PD right around the corner from here in 2018. It's a captain. His name is Fritz Reber. Fritz is actually our director of DFR consulting at Flock. He came up with the crazy idea to basically send drones from rooftops around a city in response to 911 calls. So the minute someone calls 911, that comes into the computer-aided dispatch system at the police department. A drone pilot can send that directly to that call for service and potentially get there before patrol gets there, so that patrol can watch that video stream on their MDT or on mobile so that they know what's basically happening. So he invented this in 2018 and it's absolutely caught on like wildfire.
Yeah.
I can pretty honestly say DFR is the highest demand use case I've seen in 13 years.
Yeah.
Every chief of police in America knows what this is at this point.
And why do they need it or want it?
Solving a lot of problems. Okay. Always like to think from first principles, problem solving position. Most police departments are understaffed. That's a big one.
10 to 15%?
Yeah.
On something like that?
Every agency is a little different depending where you are in the country, but as a whole, most of them are understaffed. The byproduct of being understaffed is slower response times, right? So 911 response times have increased countrywide. Drone flies as the crow flies. We don't have to worry about traffic.
No stop signs.
Don't worry about any of that.
Lights.
Exactly right.
No speed bumps.
No speed bumps, nothing. So another byproduct that we didn't necessarily know was going to be the case is the ability to what's called clearing calls for service without even having to send a patrol. So imagine a false alarm 911 call where a patrol officer is typically going to be like, "Ugh, I don't want to go to this," right? And it turns out when they get there, false alarm, nothing happened. Well, now send the drone, verify that nothing's going on, and you can clear that call for service. So when you start thinking force multiplier, fiscally, right, for city managers and city councils, you're like, wow, we didn't have to send an officer to 25% of calls this year? Yeah, the drone did it.
That is an unbelievable number. I thought you were going to say like 5%. You're saying a quarter of police calls.
We're seeing anywhere from 15 to 25% of calls on an annual basis being cleared with the use of a drone.
Incredible.
Right?
Now we've just made up the difference in the gap of officers, right?
Exactly. That makes up your gap. And, when we started the company, we had two missions, right? It was to democratize access to air support, because something like 2% of agencies around the country have access to a fixed wing or a helicopter or a traditional air support unit, right? And if you asked every chief of police or sheriff around the country, do you wish you had access to a helicopter? The obvious answer is yes. We think that because of the price and capability of DFR, that gives you a 24/7, 365 air support unit.
Totally.
And then ultimately just making communities safer.
Yeah.
reducing crime.
It'll be awesome too to not, when you're in LA, have like 17 helicopters fly over you at all times.
They have LAPD. We're getting ready to work with LAPD, and their air support unit is pretty incredible.
Yeah.
It's dozens of helos.
Yeah. They're in the air all day
Constantly.
long, all night long.
Constantly.
I
Exactly.
mean, just think how big of a metro area you're dealing with,
It's huge.
right?
It's
So you got
huge.
these mega cities, LA, New York, Dallas,
San Fran.
San Francisco,
Yeah,
right?
San Fran, New York, Miami, all these major cities, right? And the problem with helicopters is they're not always available. They're very expensive, anywhere from call it $400 to $1,000 an hour.
Oh my God.
They're very noisy
So loud.
and they're dangerous.
Yep.
So if you look at those 4 problems, drone as a first responder solves all those problems.
So, I mean, how big can this industry be?
Oh, it's a really good question. I look at GovTech as a whole. You've got major players like Motorola Solutions and Axon. Flock Safety is the fastest growing GovTech company in the world. I think this is in a 10-year time horizon. I think every police department in America will have a DFR unit. This is the body cam moment, right? If you were to look back 15, 20 years and you were to say to society, what do you think about police officers having cameras on their chests? They would say you're crazy. Now, who does not have a body cam?
Right. We see the videos every night on the news. Dude gets out of the car, turns on.
You see the Axon watermark.
And Axon owns the whole space.
Bingo. So I think DFR could be the same magnitude and size as body cam because it's transparency, it's accountability, right? Which is what society is craving. They want to know what's happening. And that's a really important part of DFR because this is not a proactive solution. You and I talk a lot about military and ISR missions. This is not that. This is a reactive tool, right? The minute someone calls 911 or you have a license plate reader alert, stolen vehicle, that's when the drone deploys. Gunshot detection. It is not going to be up in the air at all times, proactively surveilling anybody.
Yeah, so it makes, not only does it make policing more efficient, but you're basically saying it allows them to do a better job. So when they do have interactions with society, they're more positive.
And so one of the pieces of technology we build is a transparency portal that lives on the police department's website. It's going to give you a snapshot of all of the metrics of the program, a flight log, and a flight path of the drone that says, hey, we were responding to an assault call last night. Because if a community member calls their chief of police, calls their police department, says, there was a drone over my house last night. Like, what were you guys doing there? Now, they just say, go right to our website. We post everything. You can see it. So transparency is really important. And communities understanding that the department is respecting their privacy.
That's a great transition to the next kind of topic around trusting the drone, right?
Yeah.
So how, like, a lot of people, maybe this is one of their first experiences with drones, right? If there's this type of response, how do you guys help solve that problem or overcome it? Maybe that's
being proactive.
Okay.
So when we start talking to a police department and a chief of police, first of all, in order for our contract to go through, the city council has to approve it. So before that even happens, we sit down with community groups. We sit down with the mayor. We sit down with the city manager. We sit down with members of council, and we're proactive about it. Say, this is why we are doing this. This is what the technology can do. This is what the technology can't do. Here's the SOPs that we put in place to manage all of your concerns. And it's all about being proactive and transparent. Because the community has to understand and be okay with, doing something like this.
Totally.
Or else it's just not going to work.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. And so what kind of responses are you getting from the community?
Overwhelming support.
Really? Tell us more.
Overwhelming support. So we are seeing, first let's look at the value of doing this. Like, is it working? Right? So what we're seeing right now, our customers are averaging an 86-second response time to a call for service.
That's incredible.
Think about a community member when they call 911, they might not get through.
Yeah.
I
waited 10 minutes for cops to come, and I live by downtown.
There you go.
After a drunk driver hit my wife's car.
10 minutes.
10 minutes. And I had to keep the guy there without getting run over.
So there you go. That's a great example. Now think if you had a drone that had law enforcement stickers up there and be like, hey, I just called that. So don't go anywhere. Like
Totally.
try running.
Totally.
It's not going to work.
Yeah.
So you got to start with the success, right? There's also an element of this dashboard that says how many subjects have been located with the use of DFR. Huge amount of numbers. Like one of our customers, Alhambra Police Department, right? Not too far from here, right up in outside of LA. Over 700 subjects have been located using this technology since June. That's a material impact on the safety of a community.
For sure.
Period.
Yeah.
Right? So
Safer neighborhoods.
starting with the success, it's hard to argue with, to be honest. And when somebody does complain or somebody has an issue, we just support the request, right? We help the police department. Chiefs are trained to manage those types of things, but I can't say we have any customers, any communities that have revolted against this. They all are embracing it and seeing the impact and the success of it because these are taxpayer dollars.
Yeah.
Approved by city council. So they have to be okay with it.
So let's call this DFR 1.0, right?
1.0 is the Chula model.
Chula model. So are we in 2.0 now?
We are in 2.0.
What
does that mean?
look like? Yeah.
Well, let's start with the difference between 1.0 and 2.0.
Perfect, man. You can run the podcast, by the way.
So DFR 1.0 is one big problem.
Okay.
Per FAA regulations, you had to have a visual observer on the rooftop, right? That person has 3 jobs. Hold the controller, change the batteries when the drone lands, and literally use their eyes to monitor the airspace. We could think of all the problems with that, whether not everybody's in San Diego, okay? Scottsdale PD is one of our customers. Put a visual observer on a rooftop in Scottsdale in the summer. How's that going to go?
Not well.
Yeah, not well. So we had to use technology to get that person off the rooftop. We use radar. We use ADS-B. We use software to do that. So DFR 2.0 goes from, let's take Chula Vista, for example. They have 4 launch locations. That means 4 people go in 9-10 hour shifts per launch location. And multiple people flying the drones from their real-time center. With the Flock Aerodome system, it's now down to 1 person. So we use a combination, again, of those sensors to monitor the airspace. We use battery swapping docking stations that swaps out the batteries, gets the drone back up in the air quickly. This is now 1 person. And I showed you a little bit of this earlier. As long as I have my laptop and a decent internet connection, and I'm a police officer, I can manage the airspace. I can control the docking station. I can fly the drone. This is now 1 person
As the air support
unit.
I'd never seen it. It's unbelievable
it's
what
cool.
you can do.
It's very cool. So now you're down to 1 person, right? DFR 3.0 is automation. This is now having machine learning understand that this was a burglary call, comes into the system. The drone's going to automatically deploy, know what type of flight path to take based on the call, and there's almost no human in the loop. That's 3.0. And everything is predictive, right? Because part of the reason Flock Safety acquired us is because Flock is the biggest network of license plate readers around the country. But oftentimes what happens is when a license plate reader alert comes into the system, that stolen vehicle is already outside of the jurisdiction before somebody can get there. But now with DFR, that license plate reader information comes into our software. We deploy the drone, we can get that vehicle, right? And now think about this, Dan. That's like one other level. We have a product called Flock 911 that before the 911 call gets to dispatch, me as the drone pilot, I can have AI transcribe that call in real time.
Yep.
And I can send the drone before it even gets to dispatch. That's kind of the ultimate.
Right. Looking for trigger words.
That's right.
Dude, removing the high speed chase or cutting those down, it is one of the most destructive things police departments do, because when they stop these guys, the amount of damage is done is unbelievable. So if you could just chase that car with the drone, oh my goodness.
Yeah, you reduce collateral damage on the ground.
Totally.
Yeah, wait till they get to an area where it's easy to.
And there's always okay, the guy's a murderer, fine. But for some of these things that just escalate into high speed chases, pulling back 50 cop cars.
Exactly.
Unbelievable.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Okay, so but is there maybe this is the San Diego bro in me, right? could you have these drones actually drop things for people? And I'm thinking like if you're a lifeguard and you're caught in a riptide or something like that.
Yes.
Yeah.
You definitely can. But one thing to think, so the short answer is yes.
Very naive question, by the way, but
it's not. But you're right. Like drop a flotation device,
get somebody a water bottle if they're stuck hiking.
Search and rescue.
For sure, dude.
Sure. So you can absolutely drop things off. But the thing to think about is, and you know this, you guys build drones, every gram you add to a drone reduces your flight time.
Totally.
So you have to kind of weigh the pros and cons of attaching payloads to the drone. How much time are you willing to sacrifice in terms of the flight time? And then when you start dropping things off from drones, you're into another FAA category to consider.
Yeah.
So totally doable.
So for now, it's basically for DFR, it is like this augments or replaces some of these calls that, folks are going to respond to, and then we'll just get better and faster. And, I guess the right answer is like more on the ball, making sure.
Augmenting is the right word. Yeah, augmenting is the right word.
Yeah.
And, Flock, our mission as a company is to eliminate crime.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a big, hairy, audacious goal.
It sure is. And you guys just raised a lot of money to do it.
Yeah, it's a fantastic company. We couldn't be happier with the decision to join forces.
Yeah.
But that's a mission that I can get behind, The lack of consolidation in the space, there's still a lot of players that probably would benefit from joining forces, I would say. I've frankly been pretty disappointed at the rate of growth over the past 12 to 13 years, and I think there's a lot of reasons for that. I actually think the next 10 are going to be the golden years. The general public is now seeing what can be done with these systems, and there's no reason it can't be used CONUS. Think about the performance, removing the person, that error rate, right? The error rate of a human in a cockpit. It's a real thing, right? And removing that element entirely, it's just going to be better, period.
Thanks for listening to the Drone Wars podcast. Each week, we bring you fascinating conversations with leaders shaping the future of air, sea, land, and space technologies. Catch new episodes every Tuesday wherever podcasts can be found. Until then, we'll see you next time.